For the past 2 months, this is how we've been having to get into our van. And this is how we have to get out. This step here is over 26 inches tall, which is obviously not practical for everyday use. So today we're going to be installing the Amp Research Power Steps on this 2024 Sprinter.
Alright, so we already unboxed this just to make sure that we had everything, and we do. So for starters, it comes with, these are the actual steps themselves up here. These are what they call the linkages that are what attach to the van to the step that go up and down. And then we've got the wiring harness, the motors, some extra brackets, and the hardware, which has all the rib nuts in it, and that's going to be probably the trickiest part. And then also the instructions, which seem to be pretty good. So now we're going to head under the van to go ahead and start this.
Okay, so we marked this line, and that is the edge of this. So we lined it up here, and then over here you want to mark the edge right there, so that then you can use your template here on the edge. We're going to tape it up here, be able to bend that down, and then you can drill your holes.
Now that we've got this on here, we're going to use, it says use a punch, but we don't have one, so we're just going to mark these 2 holes and then drill them out with an 1/8 inch drill bit, and then 17/32 is the final hole where the rib nuts will be. Since we don't have a punch, I'm just going to use a screw and a hammer. Okay, so now just drill this out with an 1/8 inch drill bit. We're going to put these rib nuts in, and you're just going to put them in these holes, tap them in, and then we're going to use the rib nut tool. It's really just a bolt that they send. So this is the bolt they send with a washer, and this, they call it an anvil. So you slide the washer on, and then this on, and then you'll just tighten this in. And then you'll use a 9/16 wrench to hold this, and then a 13mm socket to tighten this. And they say to make sure that you don't over tighten this, because it could strip either the bolt or the rib nut. Take these black bolts that it comes with and the black washer, and go ahead and thread these in, and then we'll be able to put this on. There we go. Tightening these. They're super difficult to get to. So if that design could be slightly better, that'd be great. Then you can just take a 13mm wrench and then just a 1/4 turn at a time. So on this part of the bracket that attaches down here, this is already slotted, but it needs to be slotted a little bit more, going like towards this way, because when you get up here, there's a hole already in the van and it's too big for a rib nut to go into. So this arm needs to move like up this way more, which means this slot needed to be bigger. So unfortunately you just kind of have to like use a drill bit and make it bigger. I painted it so, because this is steel, so but yeah, it just gives you a little bit more clearance that you need to get this up, or this rib nut and this bolt in up here.
So moving on to the front, we put a pause on the back for now because that's what the instructions say to do, and moved up here. So you want to measure from right here 11 inches forward and they had this to where it wasn't like 11 straight across. It was like 11, and then you go back and touch it, and then you put this edge right on the end of the tape measure. So we just lined it right up there with that and then taped it on here, and then same thing on the back, punch here, and then pilot hole, drill it out to the size it needs to be.
Okay, and now that these two rib nuts are in, start the two bolts. Put this on just like the back side. So what you want to do is under here, there's these little tracks that slide inside of the step, and you have to get them to line up. And it's supposed to like clamp down, but you can't actually do that until you get these started, and tightening these is what draws it in, which it would be nice if you could just push them together and then tighten it, but that doesn't work. So now we're gonna go down there and get all of them started, and then we can position the step exactly where we want it.
Not sure I'm on it.
These are very tricky to get started. Now we finally have the step on, and it's kind of like messing with our heads a little bit because like it looks like it's done, but there's still a lot to do. So now that this is done, I believe we're gonna go to the driver's side, do the same thing, and then
the motor.
Then the motor, yeah. Okay, so now onto the driver's side. You want to measure 10 inches from here, and that's where you're gonna put the template. 10 inches from this piece right here. So the next step is to take these braces that go onto here and mark up top here where that hole is, so you can get the rib nut in at the top, and then you'll do this on the front and the back side, and then the rib nuts will be done after this. Now that that rib nut is in, we can go ahead and just put this bracket on while we're here. Last night we had to call it quits because we're missing one of the bolts for the driver's side. We were kind of just at a good stopping point, so unfortunately this has gone in today too. But now we're just picking up where we left off, and we're adding these support braces up here. We are currently on the passenger side, so we just have to add this one, and then we can basically get the driver's side to this point, and then from there it's pretty much just all the electrical stuff. Okay, so now that we're on this side, we're going to go ahead and finish putting the motor on. This cap goes back on. We forgot this for a second. And then the motor goes in here. There we go. And then the motor comes with these, wrapped with these screws. Okay, so now we're going back to the driver's side. We already got these rib nuts in, so just start these two bolts, and then the one with the motor goes on the back side, and then the one without goes in the front.
Okay, so now that both of these are on, it's time to put this on, and these little sliding tracks that we were talking about on the passenger side, they're right here. And you essentially have to line them up to these holes. So that's where it gets a little bit tricky, but essentially it just sits on here and those pop in there. So we're gonna put that on really quick, and then we'll tighten them down.
Okay, so now that these brackets are in here, we can mark where we need to put the riv nuts. Riv nuts are really hard to get into this metal because it's so thick, so just be prepared for a struggle. But so we're gonna put these in, and you have to hold this out, just put a little bit of pressure on this, so that way when you're, because this will move just a little bit, but you want it to be where the step's gonna be when it's all the way out. Alright, so this is the trickiest one here, really the driver's side in general, because this metal is so thick, and the riv nut didn't work on this, and we don't have any more, so we were using a bolt, which works great, but it's going to be really hard to get this on now. That's not going anywhere. Okay, one last thing to do before we start all the wiring stuff. Put the motor on this side. Also, this actually worked pretty good having this bolt up here and not using a riv nut, because there's a hole right here you can feed everything through. Nothing with this is very easy, or yeah, nothing with this is easy, but okay, so now we're on to the wiring, which seems kind of complicated, but it's really not. So from this piece, there's these wires that are going to stay inside the van. These will connect to the module they send, and then these two are the positive and negative. They go to the battery. And then these long purple and black wires are what go to the OBD2, which is what plugs in like kind of underneath your steering wheel area. And then these two long ones are what go underneath the van. They go to each step. The longer set of them goes to the passenger side, and then the shorter goes to the driver. So you just want to mark that when you feed it down through, so you know. So yeah, now we just need to take the seat off and feed these down through the boot that's underneath the driver's seat. Okay, so to take the driver's seat off, there's just 4 bolts that go into the seat base, and it's an E14, so it's kind of like a reverse Torx bit. So take these off. Once the seat's off, you also have to take this floor mat off, which you have to take this piece off using a T25 bit. Excuse me. Okay, so once the seat's off, you'll have to go under here, and for our van's 2024, and the boot is underneath this, so you'll have to take out the 2 nuts that are on this, the 10mm, and you can't really move it out of your way too much other than this without disconnecting things, which I would recommend not doing. So yeah, we'll just feed these down through the boot. This boot's already quite full, so it's going to be probably not the easiest, but yeah, let's start doing that.
So this is what it's going to look like when it comes through the boot, and then we're just going to direct each one to its designated side so that we can connect everything down here. Okay, once this is down here, you can kind of route this however you want, but I think we're going to go around here so that it's tucked up and out of the way, and then this comes back here, and I think we're going to go up over this so it doesn't interfere here. And then really, all you do is plug this in.
We're going to go ahead and put these lights in, so that way we know exactly where to zip tie everything up underneath. So there's 2 per side. They give you instructions on exactly where to put them, but I think we're just going to pick where we want to have them. So I think we're going to do 1 here, and then 1 right up here. Okay, and then you should just be able to slide this light right through there. Stick this up. Probably just hold it for a couple seconds.
Okay, so this is what it looks like all tacked up. Shouldn't be able to see any of it from underneath the van.
Now onto the passenger side. So now that we're under here, these two purple wires are going to be fed down through over here, and then they're going to come out up over here. So we're just going to start with doing those two. And they come out right into this hole over here. Up along there, and they'll just stay right there. They'll get connected to this, which will plug in right there. We'll do that last. Now to the power, so you want to take the fuse out, and then this has to go into the battery compartment. So you'll just cut this inside the wire loom that's already has a butt splice connector, so just cut it before and after that. Positive one. Also, there's a hole down here. I think we can get this through. Yeah. Okay, so we're pausing on the battery stuff right now because we don't have enough connectors, so we're gonna have to run to Lowe's. But we're gonna finish everything else, so that way we can just do this in the Lowe's parking lot, and this will finally be done. So right now we're gonna connect up here. There's one wire that has like a black stripe on it. There's one down here that has it as well. Yep. So you'll just connect those two, and then this will plug in up there. This will just plug into right there. Okay, so now we're gonna put the seat on so we don't have to take it back off. But this is what comes, this is like the module that stays underneath the seat, and there's two things that plug into it. But you wanna make sure that on both of these, there's like a little flat side here, and then there's a flat side on this middle one. Make sure that like when you're looking at this plug, that you match where those are going, because they'll like push in either way, but you can do some damage. So just make sure you have it oriented the right way. Okay, I think that's pretty much all we can do until we get this battery thing figured out. So we're gonna go to Lowe's, get a couple of connectors, and we'll be finishing this in the Lowe's parking lot. So now it's time to connect these two. The positive is here, and then the negative will just be over here. Ground will go over here, and we replaced it with one of these fork terminals because the negative doesn't come all the way off, so then we can just slip this right in. Now we should be able to just go ahead and put the fuse back in.
I heard them.
Be able to just connect the ground back over here. And then we should be able to plug this back in now. Voila! I'm just so happy that it worked. I really thought something was gonna happen.
I'm so happy.
Yep.
It says it's supposed to be a 2-second delay, but honestly that 2 seconds felt like forever.
Well, the first time I think it's worrisome, but nice. Try the sliding door.
Amazing. They come down so freaking fast.
They do.
We were so excited about getting the passenger side steps the other day, we forgot to show the driver's side actually working once we got everything put back together. So we just wanted to show that really quick and kind of conclude this video. So far we've been so happy with them, and this has been probably the best thing that we could have added to the van because it just makes getting in and out so much easier. Voila. Do another. Voila.
It's the perfect height.
The absolute perfect height. Honestly, we could not recommend these steps enough. They were definitely, I would say, a challenge to actually install, but honestly worth every bit of hassle to have to do it because none of the other, like, what are they? Nerf bars, or what would you call them?
Just side steps.
Side steps, anything like that you're gonna get, none of them are going to drop as low as these do. And when you're lifting a van this much, like I said the other day, the step is 26 inches off the ground. When you lift it that much, you need something that actually like lowers to the ground, and this does that perfectly. So if you're someone that's shorter like either of us, or even if you just don't want to have to struggle getting in and out of the van, we would highly recommend installing these. Or if you want, we can install them for you. Just bring them to our soon-to-be new shop. And that's pretty much it for this video. Hope that it was somewhat helpful for you, and we'll see you in the next one.